Well, hey, thanks for coming around for another episode of Breaking Kayfabe. It's your boy Saucy, and I'm here today with a three-time or a three-way champion. I don't know how to put that, but the handler of Nathaniel Dixon. We call her Mel. Mel, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming around, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I was just, my mind was completely blown by the setting of May and everything that happened. Like all of a sudden, May 2nd, Nathaniel has his, like he's competing in I guess like more than one match on for the Styx Corporation. And then all of a sudden, on night one, at the end of it, the main event, it's him and I don't remember the name of his opponent. I'm sorry.
Oh, shame on you.
I
Shame.
know. I'm like, wait. I think it's, yeah. Last name is Yamamoto. I know that off the top of my head.
Okay.
Um, but that happened, and then I read it, and I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Did he just win the Orcus Championship? Like, hold on a second, back it up, run it back, and it was just crazy. Like, he actually did win his first ever championship in his career of 10 years on and off.
Wow.
Yeah, that I've been running this character since 2012. On and off, because sometimes you have certain motivations for a character that you're playing, but then you're like I'm not really doing very well with this character and I'm doing better with other characters, so I'll focus on them more. And the past 10 years have been kind of on and off, back and forth with Nathaniel in particular, because back then I always struggled with writing a heel. I was always terrible at writing heels, big time. For the longest time, it was really difficult for me to write this character and his concept, being as complicated as it is. And it wasn't until um, May 2021 when decided, I'm like, you know what, maybe retirement isn't for me yet. So, oh god, that's the whole story of, like, you think you retire from efetting for the nth amount of time, x amount of times that you do, and then you're like, oh, you know what, I'm not done yet. And I wasn't. And I took it was from December 2020 until May 2021. And then I was like, I really miss Nathaniel. I feel like I can finally get him done correctly and actually excel with him. So I was like, no, I'm not done yet. Even though I told the efed podcast I was done, I'm like, I want to give this one last shot with him just to see if I can do it. Because at this point, I can actually write villains, I can write heels, antagonists. So I thought to myself, yeah, no, let's give him one last run. And 2 years later, not one, not two, but somehow, miraculously, three championships in the month of May alone, from having nothing in his accomplishments.
So
Completely mind blown.
So now you've thrust, you've broken through this glass ceiling, and now you are one of the elite, right? In the business, people have taken notice of you. I saw Matt Knox, uh, tweeted about you the other day, saying it. 60 days ago, Nathaniel, Mr. No Belts, and now all of a sudden, just can't be beaten. It's got to be surreal, right? It's got to be, do you feel like an imposter? Do you feel like this is a dream? Is it euphoric? What's the experience like for you?
It's a mixture of everything. I am beyond words. Um, Winning the Six Corporation Orcus Championship, then winning the Hybrid Revolution Ironheart Championship, and then finally this past Sunday on the 28th, which was the Calamity Chamber, winning the multi-universal championship. And just sitting there, just gobstopped, beyond words. Again, just the honor. It just, for me, I guess, and I will admit, prior to this month, I was I was struggling, to be honest. I was like, I don't understand. Am I doing something wrong? Like, I've been working so hard with this character, and nothing is giving any kind of like indication or reward, um, to show like, hey, you're actually doing very well with Nathaniel. And I was just, for the longest, I was just like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I had not been a champion with any character since December 2020, when I decided to retire for the nth time. I had Danny Anderson as the NFW World Heavyweight Champion that she lost in that month of December. And then I had my character, Jessica Matthews, Nee Sears, being the one half of the hybrid duality champions with Adrian Cochran, also in December of 2020. So I had not had a single title since then. And it doesn't count that, again, from December 2020 to May 2021, I was out of efetting completely. But since May 2021 to, last month in well, oh my God, it's now June. Happy Pride, by the way. Sorry. I was about to say like last month, and I'm like, wait, no, it's June now. So April, from that time, it was like I wasn't winning a single championship, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Am I just not, is it that case where like, you're that little kid who's the last picked in kickball or something? Is it just not happening? Like, that's what I've always felt like I've been in efetting, despite being in this game for 18 years this November. I've always felt like I was one of those unpopular kids that was picked last in certain activities or games, and was just trying to do their best, and not a lot of, admittedly, like, well, I don't know. I personally don't think I have a lot of friends. But I mean, apparently some people really do like me, and I'm like, wow, like, oh, like that's so sweet. So, but just, like, you put in so much work into your character, into one character in particular. Maybe you only have one, or maybe you have multiple, but there's one that really shines to you as your primary. And you're doing work, you're selling, you're hyping, you're putting in segments, you're writing CDs, you're doing all of this hard work, and then there's no reward for it, so to speak. Like, there's no like, okay, like, you've done your work, you've earned your keep, having a title, you know, that's like one of the biggest things. In character wise, if your character isn't there to try to become a champion, like, what are they doing there in the first place? And for Nathaniel, this was something so important to him because, slight spoilers to his story in The Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, but when he was younger, in his adolescent years, he and his older sister, Kaylee, had this very close bond relationship. Like, she was like the guardian angel to him, and he idolized her. And the two of them really enjoyed watching wrestling together, whether it was on TV or it was live shows in San Diego. And he actually was really fascinated by the sport, and he was very passionate about it. Um, and he, at one point, I think I said he was 30 years ago, he made a promise to her that he would become a champion one way or another. It didn't matter what title it was, that he just would become a champion, and it would be for the both of them. Um, and unfortunately, 2 years later, she and her husband actually died in a car accident. And it devastated him, and it tore him up, and it caused a lot of mental and psychological issues within him that he doesn't show anybody on the surface. Probably no one except for his brother-in-law, Jack. And that's only because of certain other things that I can discuss later, depending on how much we want to dive into the wolf in sheep's clothing.
So
But
before we go there, and we're going to talk about that, we're going to sell your book here. Um, you were this feeling that you were talking about is it's real, right? It's intangible, and it's I live in that world, right? It's the bridesmaid syndrome, always the
yep,
bridesmaid, never the bride. People tell you, oh, you're pretty, it's going to happen for you too, but you can only watch so many other people get married before you feel like, why is there nobody for me? Why? What am I doing wrong? I'm doing all the right things. I'm a great friend. I'm a catch, and you
yeah,
and you can't seem to get over that hump. And at a certain point, you just want the validation, and you
yeah,
start to get desperate. And like you said, sometimes you just shut it down, and it's tempting to just give up and say, you know what, I'm not pursuing anything right now. And I have to admit, I'm kind of there right now. I'm saying, I'm moving from this creative platform, and I'm moving into making the videos, right? So
yeah,
this has been more rewarding for me, and maybe one day I go back to the competitive writing and I have a stretch like you're having right now, and then it's super satisfying, or maybe not.
oh,
I don't know. So for
yeah,
anybody who's listening who's going through a phase like that, a couple of things that I would say is either take a little break, come back, recharged, and make another run at it, or maybe you shift your focus and you work on a different project for a little while that is rewarding or that does love you. You know what I mean?
yes, absolutely, 110%. I think that's why, like, sometimes some of us, we quote unquote retire for a while, or we go on a hiatus, and then the drive just eventually comes back, and we want to give that another try, whether it's a second try or a third attempt or a fourth, etc. Um, and I knew eventually, like, I was sitting there like, something's got to give, because the sad thing about the whole thing is in the last 2 years, while I was struggling and I didn't have any titles with any of my characters, especially not Nathaniel, who again, like, was going into his 10th year without a single championship to his name. And then on the meantime, like, on the outside, I'm seeing people that are like, multi-time champions, and they're getting world titles like in the same year. And I'm sitting there like, okay, like, when is it my turn? Like, I'm working really hard. I'm trying to do so many things with this character, and I'm selling what other people are doing, and whenever there's any feuds or things that he's involved in, I'm making sure to proceed, with the way that it should be, because one of the biggest things about this game is how you sell other people. If you are one of those people that you're just like, oh, I'm not going to give this opponent any credit. I'm just going to laugh at them. They're nothing. Ha ha ha. You know. But then it comes like you get to that match and it's like, well, if you win, then you just win against a nobody. Like, who cares? No one's going to care about that. But if you lose against them, then it's like, oh, well, you just lost to so-called trash. What? You just made yourself look bad either way. So it's like, sell everybody. I get it. Sometimes it's hard to like really like go along with like certain people's character developments or like their stories or how they're proceeding with their characters. But if you don't push each other, it's making the rest of the product look weak, and no one's going to care about that. So, I mean, I try my best, and yeah, I'll make mistakes here and there. I'm never going to be one of those people that it's like, I can do no wrong. Like, I will like give your characters credit, if you're able to, return the favor as well. Like the more you guys sell one another, the better the end result will be. The more that feud shines, the more the championship match glows. You want that. You want that, like, that high ground of feeling like, all right, this is amazing. This is a great product. We're bouncing ideas off of each other. Things are building up really well. We're doing crazy stuff with each other's characters. And then the conclusion comes, and it's like, it's such a great feeling to like have that end result and be like, oh, that was amazing. This is so awesome. We should totally do it again later. Or like it spreads to like wanting other people who want to work with you and produce more awesome results like that. So with this, like with Nathaniel, it was weird. Like, I started him off as a heel for the longest time, and he'd always been that kind of charismatic, kind of arrogant, very suave, sophisticated gentleman, but who was very conniving and devious, and he could be ruthless. And I noticed over the course of time in the last 2 years, like some characters would complain, like, oh, he can't win clean, or he always has to be, cheating to do this and this. And then I just kind of was like, you know what? What if I had Nathaniel just turn around and start winning his matches clean? Like title matches, he'll wrestle them clean. He's not going to try to, pull the wool over someone's eyes or low blow or, throw a fireball in their face, which is what happened to Haley. But, sorry. Like, what if he, started proving them wrong by being like, you know what, you say I can't do this, but guess what? I can. I can win my matches clean. Or I can wrestle clean even if I lose. Like, you can't say, like, oh, well, he tried to go the dirty tactics way. It's like, no, he didn't. Ta-da. Magic. And just kind of going from there. And I really liked that mindset that I had him switch to, and being like, you know what? Maybe, just maybe he could actually pull off more of a face lean. I'm not saying that he would be a total baby face. Absolutely not. No. That man is too he's too brilliant and ruthless to be a baby face. But he could be like, in terms of D&D alignments, he could be lawful neutral, and kind of be more like, I'll be good, I'll be honorable. I have my code of honor as the Lord, but if you provoke him, if you do things the wrong way or try to involve his family in a negative light, he's going to become the monster, and he's going to be more chaotic neutral, and he'll beat the shit out of you. And that side is more violent and far more determined to be very extreme whenever he is in that perspective. And I got the idea because he is actually a Gemini. So perfect. Kind of set up like, you know what? He doesn't have a solid one type of alignment. He's not face, but he's not heel. He can kind of fluctuate between both. And I feel like that fits him really well, and I like it, and I'm rolling with it. And now look, 3 titles. Something I've never accomplished with any other character that I've had. Nathaniel is my first triple champion, which it never even popped up in my mind that was possible. Never, ever. But I can't thank them enough. I can't thank King, the Fed head of the Styx Corp. I can't thank Shane, the Fed head of Hybrid Revolution, and I can't thank Shep, the runner and the owner of the Splat Network. I can't thank them enough. Like, it's an honor, and I'm so proud. And like, when all these results were going up, I freaking cried. I'm not gonna lie. I just, oh, wow.
Well, if I may, Mel, I'm going to try to flatter you a little bit here. And I just want to say that I think anybody who's listening to the show is falling in love with Nathaniel as a character, even the ones who've never heard of him before, because he just sounds like a real person who's found his confidence and sounds like he's not a win at all costs kind of guy. He doesn't need to win at all costs. He's just he's determined and he's direct and he's confident and just authentic, right? And I think you as a person, you've been so humble and so appreciative, and even on the boards, you're you relieve the tension with the anime post and things like that. I hope that people do appreciate what you've been doing, because it sounds like maybe for a long time that they didn't appreciate you or appreciate Nathaniel as much as we probably should have. So hopefully
Oh,
by coming on the show, people recognize you a little bit more. I'm sure with the titles, people always recognize you when you're three belt Nate, right? Um,
that's crazy.
but this was before. I like to think that before you got the titles, I saw something special in the character. I reached out to you and said, "Hey, would love to have you in the World Series of Wrestling." I remember way back, I designed a T-shirt for you at the Cannabis Cup. So the character's been out there, and it's nice to see one of our own make it. You know what I mean? And it feels that way. So I think that everybody's kind of rooting for you, and no pressure or anything, but the hopes and dreams of the voiceless are riding on your shoulders for a little while here.
that's that's so weird. Like all of a sudden, I describe myself as like the unpopular kid who's picked last in kickball, etc. Or like I go from kind of being that level with Nathaniel to all of a sudden being a champion with three different titles and people that are like usually higher recognition suddenly coming out of nowhere and being like, this is amazing. Like how like it's amazing that you pulled this off. And I'm like, I don't even know like how this even came to be. Like King, Shane, and Shep just all were like, you worked so hard on this character for the past 2 years. You deserve something. And I'm like, I bless. Oh my god. um, I guess like since you pointed out the World Series of Wrestling too, I remember that approach in DMs and saying like, "Oh, Ryan Keto wants to give you a golden ticket." I'm like, "Wait, what? No!" Like I knew what the World Series of Wrestling was. I knew that it was competitive role play, and I'm sitting there staring at this, going, I don't do competitive anymore. I'm terrible at it, to be honest. Even though back then in from November 2005 when I first started, all the way to let's see 2000, 2016, 2017. That's how long I had been doing RP feds. Pretty much go go go, with the exception of like going on hiatus or quote unquote being retired for a while, and then I'd come back into it. I'd jump back into it, and I knew because I do have championships with my other characters who were in RP feds, like my veteran characters Zaria Lynette and Chelsea Price. They have the most titles out of all my characters in terms of where I win them from in RP feds. Sorry, not Chelsea. She's my second most accomplished, but Zarya is definitely my number one. Like all except for one or two of her titles are RP Fed wins, and it was crazy because when I first started with her in January 2007, I was let me see 19 at the time, and it was just coming into this with a whole new character concept with this very bubbly, sweet, optimistic, very colorful and flashy French girl who somehow migrated from Paris, France, all the way to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then just having her come into her first ever wrestling company, which was Legacy Wrestling Alliance. I don't know if anybody knows that one, but if they do, then damn, you're as old as me. um, but having her in there and then just going from that position into her winning her first ever championship, which was the LWA Crossfire Division Championship. That was a title that was focused on hardcore matches. And at the time, Zarya was very like anti weapons, anti hardcore. She was super babyface, my ultimate babyface, and she didn't want anything to do with weaponry. And even in that title match, she actually didn't use any of the weapons to win. I specifically told the match writer, I'm like, please don't. She doesn't want to use any weapons. Um, but then sometime later, like I don't know how long later, there was a segment where one of her closest friends got attacked very violently by I don't remember the name, Alec McTanner or Scott Free, one of the two. And she became very upset by this and feeling helpless. And her mentor, Kyle Cross, the original guardian angel, may had like a little pep talk with her to kind of be like, you know, because just because you don't want to be violent doesn't mean that sometimes, you know, it's okay to make the use of this for the sake of justice and for self-defense. And persuasive enough, Zarya actually made, she took a steel chair and she painted it with glitter and she covered it with these cute stickers, and it became her signature weapon. And from there, Kyle actually bestowed upon her the Guardian Angel title, and she just took off. Later on, became the LWA Undisputed World Champion, the last one of the company before it closed, nominated and put into the Hall of Fame. And just, again, RP Feds, all of these, the ones that she was in, LWA, EWO, True Glory, Blazing Wings, so many that I can name with, like, off the top of my head. And except for two of them were all RP. The other two were via Angle. And I remember in 2016, 2017, actually switching and being introduced to the concept of an Angle Fed. And at first I kind of looked at him like, that's really, wait, we don't have to write promos. We don't have to, you know, shoot the shit against our opponents. And like, wait, what? Like, oh, it was fascinating. Like, yeah, it's like it's focused more on character development and storytelling. And I'm sitting there like, oh, those are actually my strongest elements as a role play writer. I really love telling stories and developing characters. And I'm like, if that's what Angle Feds are all about, that sounds amazing. Where have you been all my life? So I made the jump. And ever since then, like, except for like, you know, guest spots or like giving a competitive RP Fed a try again, like with Pro Wrestling Excellence and the Entity, which I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. Like, it'll be fine. It's a bi-weekly setting for PWE. For Entity, it's monthly. Like, I think I can manage, you know. And surprisingly enough, like I did okay. But overall, I'm just so used to Angle now. Like that's been my primary for the past few years, and it's the fact that you know you came to me and Ryan came to me, and I'm like, wait a minute, the World Series of Wrestling is RP. It's competitive. I don't know about this, but I'm like, he's giving me the ticket. I don't want to turn it down and be rude, you know?
You
So
know,
it's just like, yeah,
the
yeah.
story that you're telling is one that I've heard a few times now doing these shows, and it's endearing because you know it makes me feel as a mediocre writer that not
Oh, don't you
I'm
know?
not calling you a mediocre writer, but
No,
it makes
but
me
you're
feel
not. I'm pretty sure you're
like
awesome.
like I'm not crazy. Like the emotions that I'm feeling are valid, and other people are having similar experiences, and it's just part of the experience. So it's uh, I I've just kind of let you talk here because I'm just absorbing all this, and I didn't mean to do a deep dive, and but everything you're saying just has been resonating. So I hope the listeners feel the same way. But so we're running short on time, but before we go, I want to talk about this book. I promise we
All
talk
right.
about the book. You said you finished your first novel, and tell us about that. How did you get started on that? When what was it like to actually finish it, and when are you going to publish?
Well, technically it's not finished yet. I'm still working on a few more chapters. I feel like with the first book, it's probably going to be stopped at the 20th chapter, and then I'll like jump into the second book, which is like going to be another 20 chapters. I don't know. I don't know how long this thing is going to be, to be honest. But I guess to start, um, real quick, not to overdo it, I'm going to try to control my ADHD while doing this. um, so when I brought Nathaniel back in May 2021, it still wasn't in my mind the process or the thought of a novel, because in the past, I've always aspired to be um, a professional writer, and I've had this dream of mine since elementary school in fifth grade, that I wanted to be a writer and to actually publish my work. And I've had projects in the past that I've started, but every single time I started one, I was never able to finish it, or I'd get distracted and start another one, or something would happen in my life that I would just be discouraged by this project and just kind of scrap it. And then November 2021 happened. And this is all while we're in the middle of the pandemic and the world has gone to hell, relatable everywhere. And I was like sitting there working on Nathaniel and just kind of looking at him like, you know what would be really cool? If I made his whole story, his whole concept, his background, everything, and started writing chapters for it. And that's when I started with chapter one. And then from there, I was like, well, I really like this. I'm really in depth to this. Like, I'm so far into it. And I'm like, okay, let's try a second one. And I think around the time that I was writing the chapters was actually when I was a part of UGWC. For a while, I was a part of, oh my god, my brain with everything I've been doing lately. One of their tournaments that starts in January, and I took advantage of like, okay, there's a deadline. I can write a new chapter in this deadline and have it be part CD, of course, and then part promo, which I'm still not the greatest at. But I was like, I have to do something. I can't just post RPs that are CD only in a competitive RP fed. It's not going to work. I've tried that before. But it worked out. I was producing chapters per each deadline. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I can make this a book. Holy shit, I can make this a book. And I'm like motivated and everything. And I'm focused on this project. The wolf in sheep's clothing is something that, I started to actually work on the uncut novel version of it during NaNoWriMo. In this past year, in 2022, in November, NaNoWriMo being National Novel Writing Month, 30 days, 50,000 word challenge. I didn't clear that, but I had accomplished 25,000 words of The Wolf in Sheep's Clothing with Nathaniel's story, with his siblings and his father, who is a total asshole, by the way. and their mother, and just having everything connect together. And by the time I reached chapter 10, which was the big, like, huge reveal, and I got the idea of it because I was like, look at some of the TV shows that they have, like Supernatural. Every 10th episode is something huge, something amazing. Or in Game of Thrones, every ninth episode is an incredible, like, holy shit moment. And I was like, every 10th chapter then is going to be something big. And chapter 10, I finally decided, I'm like, I'm going to put it out there in writing, the full reveal of who Nathaniel is, who his family are. And just all of a sudden, I'm like, I like this. I'm actually motivated by this. I'm driven for it. I want to write more and more and more. And then I started getting on the chapter 11, 12, 13, 14. I just finished 15 um, in April for the Styx Corporation, because King was asking everybody to produce a CD or just a simple paragraph of, why their character has been invited into the Styx Corp at the 66 Plaza. What would the motivation be to draw that character in? And I was like, I'm going to do a full-fledged chapter for it. And that's where I'm at right now. 16 is coming up very soon.
Well,
But
let
yeah,
me stop you right there, Mel. And we're already running long, but I know there's a lot more meat left on this bone. So maybe what we can do is bring you back for another interview in, I don't know, a few weeks. And at that point, we can pick up where you left off. We can talk about the book. We can talk about what's going on with your titles, talk about what's going on in the World Series of Wrestling. Um,
that would
you
be,
you're a very
well,
good
yeah.
speaker, by the way.
Thank you.
Very easy to listen to. So
I hope so. I Twitch stream, so I need to be able to gauge my audience and be like, okay, what do I need to say as I'm doing this or I'm playing that?
so
Thank
go
you.
ahead and plug the Twitch stream, and then we're gonna wrap up this episode of Breaking Kayfabe. So what's the Twitch channel?
The Twitch channel is twitch.tv/MadRhapsody17. And I know, I want to do this real quick, just flowers for people, because oh my god,
Yeah, please do.
King, I've known her for years. Absolute love her. She's a joy. I adore her. She's one of the youngins, and I adore her so much. Shane, the handler of Damon Cross, Eric Donovan, and so many others, just fantastic. Like, he and I have this kind of profound bond online, and we're just really cool together, and we work on things. And he's fantastic. He's a great fed head. Should join Hybrid, by the way. Bi-weekly angle, great. And Shep, holy shit, just amazing working on the projects with him in the past 4 years, and being a part of the different TV shows, the different movies that he was doing. Just Splat Network is going to be missed. I'm going to miss it, to be honest. And I'm like, there's so many. Oh my god. Let's see. Alan Cheney, Matthew Knox, which I'm super honored beyond words that he actually wants to work with me. When he approached me, I was like, wait, me? What? There's like so many other cool people. You want to work with me? Like, Ryan Keto. Like, holy shit, I love that boy. He must be protected at all costs. He's that sweet innocent bun, cinnamon bun. Lass, the handler of Brendan Samuels and DJL, absolute fantastic man, just great. Just let me say it, like, there's so many. Ryan, the handler of like a fuck ton of characters. You could find his Twitter at I don't know how to pronounce it. B'nai Elohim, I think. I don't know. I'm watching. Randy, who handles the Mason siblings, Abigail, Lindsay, etc. It's fucking A. There's too many that are underrated in this game, and I love you all. And those who have been loyal to me all these years, who have been able to accept me at my worst and love me at my best, and just you guys are the reasons why like I'm still here at the same time. Like besides my novel, that it's them. It's all of them. And I'm really hoping to work with a lot of new people. Like I really do want to work with new people. I'm just really uh I'm an ambivert, so I start off introverted and then I get extroverted. So it just I don't know, reach out. I mean, I'm an empathic person, I'll admit. I'm very sensitive with emotion. I channel other people's emotion as an empath. Shane and I can both, vouch for each other on this. It's really intense to constantly feel what other people are feeling. But that's probably one of the reasons why I'm like very sensitive and sometimes opinionated. Because I know there's some people out there that don't really like me, and I'm just like, all right, well, it is what it is. You can't make everybody happy. But
Well, Mel,
those are that from
Mel,
yeah.
I
Sorry.
don't normally do this, but we need to close out the show here.
Yeah.
I hate to get you to stop talking, so I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to let you close out the show for me.
Oh dear.
So why don't you go ahead and wrap things up for Breaking Kayfabe, and this is awesome and saucy, and send people home.
You guys are. This is such a delight to listen to, and looking forward to more. So, guys, I hope you tune in. I have been for today, the co-hostess with the mostest, the songstress of the realm, aka Mel. Also know me as Mad Rhapsody 17 on Twitch, and we will sign out with this Breaking Kayfabe. Catch y'all later. Bye.